All right, welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to talk about properties of real numbers. So in this section, you're going to learn the definition of the commutative property, the associative property, and the distributive property. How to use the distributive property to simplify expressions, and then we talked a little bit already about identities for addition and multiplication in previous sections. So when you're adding or multiplying numbers, the order in which you add or multiply does not matter. This is called the commutative property. So in other words, 3 times 2 will give you the same thing as 2 times 3. They both equal 6. Okay, and this works for addition and multiplication. The order in which you add or write the numbers down, 3 plus 2 is still 5, 2 plus 3 is still 5. So the order does not matter when you're adding or multiplying. Similarly, if you're dealing with more than 2 numbers, the way that you group them doesn't matter. This is known as the associative property. So if we're dealing with addition, and we have a plus b plus c, well, that's going to be equal to a plus b plus c. These grouping symbols don't matter when all you're doing is adding or multiplying. You're going to get the same answer. Okay, so for example, here at the bottom, if we group, we want to multiply 3 times 2 times 4. Well, 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 2 is 6. And then times 4 will give you 24. But we could just as easily group the 2 and the 4 together and say that 3 times 8, which still gives you 24. So you still get the same answer. So now we want to use these 2 properties to just rewrite these expressions. There's not much to this. You're just regrouping or reordering these things. So for example, if we have L times M, we could rewrite that as M times L. Just reorder them. If we have 3 plus x plus y, well, we could rewrite that as 3 plus x plus y. Just by grouping it in a different way, you will still get the same answer. All right, so let's talk about using these to simplify expressions. We have r plus 3 plus 11. Well, we can regroup these. We can say r plus 3 plus 11. Well, we know what 3 plus 11 is. 3 plus 11 is 14. And so we've simplified this expression. Now it's just r plus 14. And this would be your answer. We can do a similar thing down here. 4 times 6 times y. Well, we can rewrite that as 4 times 6 times y. Just by reordering it, regrouping it. 4 times 6 is 24 times y. So the next thing is known as the distributive property. It's probably one of the most important properties of real numbers in dealing with these types of equations. It allows for the expansion and simplification of expressions. So what it really is multiplication on addition, right? So we've got a times b plus c. And so when we distribute this, we have a times b plus a times c. The number in front of the parentheses will distribute to each term within the parentheses. Hence, it's called the distributive property. So we want to use the distributive property to just rewrite these expressions without parentheses. So here we have 2 times 3x plus 5. The 2 is going to distribute to each term. 2 times 3x is just 6x. And 2 times 5 is 10. Now below we want to do the same thing. The 8 is going to distribute to all 3. 8 times 3y is just 24y. 8 times z is just 8z. And then 8 times negative 6 This is going to give you minus 48. Okay. Want to do the same thing here? Distribute negative 1/3 to both. We get negative 1/3 times 3x minus negative 1/3 times 9y. Well, 1/3 times 3, that's going to essentially cancel, and you're left with minus x minus negative 1/3 times 9y. Well, that's going to give you negative 3y. And so minus negative 3y, that's just negative x plus 3y. Those two minus signs become a plus. Finally, we can distribute this negative sign. And really, when we have a negative sign in front, we can treat it as a negative 1. And so if we distribute it, we get negative 1 times q, which is negative q. Negative 1 times negative 2, which is plus 2, positive 2. And then times 6r will give you minus 6r. So now we want to just kind of do this the opposite way. We want to use the distributive property to write these sums as a product. And so we have 14 times z plus 14 times 5. Well, they both have 14. So that's the thing that's being multiplied. And so we can say this is 14 times z plus 5. If we were to distribute that 14, we would get back what we started with. Similarly, on the second problem, we have 30a plus 30b. They both have 30 in it. And so we could rewrite this by pulling the 30 out and saying it's 30 times a plus b. Now, if we distribute 30, we get back what we started with. So at the end of this lesson, you should be able to use the commutative and associative properties of addition and multiplication. You should be able to use the distributive property of multiplication. You should be able to simplify expressions using those properties.